And you want to be ethical at all times, okay? Tell your compliance director if you see something, say something, sort of thing, okay? If you hear something that's material non-public information, okay? It happens. Immediately go to your compliance director at your firm and tell them. And what they'll do is, first of all, they'll be happy with you and you'll be protecting your family and yourself. What's more important than that? And what they'll do is they'll put that stock on the restricted list so nobody can trade it for a cool off period of, I don't know, up to 30 days. Okay. It's not worth it. It is never worth it. Look at Raj Rotman. He is in jail because of that. Okay. Never worth it. Now, always tell compliance if you think there's an issue, but you're not sure, I don't know if this is wrong, but can you they'll love you for it. They will love you for it. Okay. So, compliance is not only it's not your best friend. Sometimes it's your only friend. Okay. Ask the sell side for help often. Okay. Especially when you're new. When you're new, you got to divide your questions up a lot. You don't want to bother one person in particular, but ask the salespeople on the phone that service you and the analyst to help you. If you don't understand something and you're embarrassed to ask your portfolio manager because you don't want to look dumb, ask the sell side, man. Just do it. I did it all the time. Put please and thank you in all of your emails as well, because emails can really be misinterpreted, especially in a high stress environment. Don't over communicate with your boss, which I've done before, right? Don't send too many emails, right? Less is more. Every 2 months, I want you to sit down with your boss, your portfolio manager, and ask, how am I doing? Always do that, because a lot of times when people get fired, it's a surprise to them. If you do this, number one, you won't get fired. Number two, you'll never be surprised, right? You'll get feedback, and this will keep you on track, right? And you also ask little things like, what would it take for me to get promoted from junior analyst to senior analyst if that position exists? And they'll help you with goal setting, okay? And then in November, I hate this, but you got to do it, man. Remind your portfolio manager or your boss of your winners with a dollar sign there, okay? Where you've made money. Because they tend to pay, I'm not a negative guy, but a lot of funds tend to pay you the most minimum amount possible to keep you there. It's like they have this little sensitivity analysis and they know. But if you don't remind people of your successes in life, they'll never know, unfortunately. It's just the way it works. Speak up in meetings when your boss is out, okay? It's the only exposure you're going to get. Stay in the office when your portfolio manager is out as well. It's survival of the fittest. I'm not telling you to go behind your boss's back. I'm just telling you stuff that I want you to know that will help you get promoted at some point, right? And say your PM quits one day. You've already had exposure when you've been in the office to your boss's boss, right? That's a good thing because they'll feel confident and comfortable with you that you've got what it takes to do the PM role, okay? Exposure to your PM's boss is a double-edged sword, though. It's a blessing and a curse, okay? It's a blessing because you're now on their radar screen. And, if your PM decides to leave or leaves for whatever reason, you got a shot. It's a curse because sometimes if it gets back to your PM, your portfolio manager, that you were talking to your PM's boss, they can feel threatened by you. So maybe a good thing to do early on is talk to your boss's boss when they approach you, sort of thing. And you can tell your portfolio manager, you can send an email saying, hey, just so you know, Mark approached me and asked me about Computer Associates. I gave him our thesis on the stock, whatever it is, okay? Yeah. Pitch pair trades when your boss is out if your boss's boss comes up to you. Why did I say that? Because I want your boss's boss to know that you can manage risk and you're not just all about long ideas, which most brand new neophyte analysts are all about in the hedge fund industry. They pitch longs, not shorts. Pitch pair trades. I think Microsoft's a long and Oracle's a short, or vice versa, whatever it is. It shows you can manage risk. Don't ever take ownership for a mistake that wasn't yours, okay? You're not being a team player. Screw it. It's survival of the fittest, okay? Especially in an industry where you can get fired like that. Don't let your boss blame you for their losses. That happened to me one year. Years ago, I worked for somebody who lost a lot of money on a certain stock, and they tried to blame me. And it made me sick. And I'll never forget it. I was in the, there was a billionaire owner of this fund. I was in his office, and my boss was in there as well. And it was around bonus season. And the guy kind of knew what was going on, right? The owner of the firm. And, this portfolio manager I worked for blamed me again during bonus season. And the owner of this firm was so awesome. He rolled his eyes and he said, you know what, Chris, this is ridiculous. I'm going to give you the same dollar amount that your boss, who was sitting in the room, is going to give you as a bonus plus 10x more. And that wasn't a lot of money, though. Trust me, it was a very de minimis amount. So anyway, don't ever take ownership for a mistake, ever, right? It's survival of the fittest, okay? And observe the culture for the first 6 months or so. Every firm, every hedge fund has a different culture. Kind of sit back. I'm not telling you not to be proactive, but just sit back a little bit initially and observe how it works, okay? Sometimes if you're too proactive or talk to the wrong people or, kind of align yourself with the dark side and you don't know who they are, then you can be screwed. So it's political, but it is what it is. I'm just trying to teach you how to survive. Don't ever tell anybody that you're considering leaving for an MBA. Ever. Anybody. I mean, you could tell your significant other and your parents, that's it. The reason I say that is business is highly cyclical. The hedge fund business can be as well. And a firm can go from having an amazing year to a nightmare scenario overnight. And if they have to cut back on personnel, the first person to get axed is the one that might be leaving anyway. So keep it to yourself. Make your own model portfolio on the side and start thinking like a portfolio manager if you want to become one eventually. Divide questions. When you first join a firm, especially a hedge fund, you're going to have so many darn questions, especially when you're junior, don't have much experience. That's cool. Divide the questions, right? It's kind of like when you were back in school, I wasn't the smartest student, but I would always, be resourceful and ask a bunch of different people for help. And if you ask the same person for help all the time, they won't help you anymore, or they'll assume you know nothing. So just divide your questions amongst many, many people. Read the 10K and 10Qs for the companies that you cover. And here's a cool trick for you, and your boss will love you for this, right? Take 2 different quarterly 10Qs, okay? Save them both in separate Microsoft Word documents, and then use what's called the auto compare feature of Microsoft Word. And you will see red underlines on where the language changes. The numbers will all change, so ignore the numbers. But look to see where new risks are highlighted. Or sometimes a risk will be highlighted even more. So for example, in one quarter in a 10Q, it might say, one risk that we might have is the ability to expand overseas. And they might change that to this in the next one. One risk that we definitely have is the ability to expand overseas. They changed the word, they put definitely in. Okay? That's important. Okay? How do I know what stocks are mine to cover? It's pretty easy, right? And the rule I use, and I tell all analysts and portfolio managers to use, is this. Whatever the sell side analyst is covering that covers your sector, those are your stocks. So if a sell side analyst covers a software sector and they cover Salesforce, that's yours. However, if Salesforce is covered for some crazy reason, this wouldn't happen, by the hardware analyst, then it's the hardware analyst, not yours. That's the deal breaker, okay? Sounds nebulous, but it's helpful. I love this quote. Observe your feelings. Don't become them, okay? Don't get emotional about stocks ever. Again, the most successful people I've ever worked for are incredibly unemotional. They never get too happy when things go well and vice versa. Observe your feelings. Don't become them. And again, less is more, and I repeated that on purpose. I want you also to identify that contrarian bad stock picker. You'll know who he or she is, okay? It might be in your firm or at a competing firm, okay? Everything they touch to is the opposite of the Midas effect, meaning every stock they talk about buying goes down and vice versa. They're the contrarian indicator. If they start liking one of your stocks, maybe you could be a bit worried, right? That's not the only reason to be worried, but you know what I mean. Form your own opinions only, okay? Don't let people that speak gooder than you, form your opinions. If they went to HBS, 2/3 of which is BS, and they speak, more gooder than you. I did that on purpose, by the way. Better than you. Don't let that intimidate you. Do your own work. Form your own opinions always. And remember, people always have a bias, okay? People are talking positively about a stock on TV because they're stuck in it or they're long it and they're talking their book. Form your own opinion. And again, ignore most of what you see on TV just because people are talking their book. They're talking their portfolio. They're saying positive stuff about their portfolio. And even when you see a CEO or a CFO interviewed on TV, they're obviously biased. They're only going to say positive stuff about their company. It's kind of like when you hire somebody and they give you a list of references. They're never going to give you references of people that are going to say negative stuff. Do your own work on them. Do your own due diligence on them. Do your own channel checks on those people. And again, remember, everybody has a bias, okay? And don't attend idea dinners. This one's a little bit controversial. What happens is a lot of hedge funds like to say, hey, why don't we get all the big hedge funds together, all the smartest people on the street, and let's all have dinner and everybody pitch a stock after dinner. Don't do that. Don't do that because then, they might be manipulating you or you might be a victim of groupthink. I want you to do your own work all the time. Your boss's boss loves you when you disagree with them because you have the guts. I know it sounds weird. They don't feel threatened by you because you're 2 levels below them, and quite often it's their firm and they're a multi-billionaire or whatever. But they love it. I remember one of my first meetings I went into, my boss's boss was bullish on Microsoft. We didn't have a position, and I wasn't as bullish at the time, and I kind of went against the grain, and that kind of helped me. I think I was a little bit naive at the time, to be honest, but it can actually work out well. Don't disagree with them in front of a lot of people, but you know what I mean. It's kind of like the great management process of, compliment people in public, but only criticize in private. Anyway, if you think somebody is shady or unethical, they are. No exception. Tips are for waiters. That's corny, I know, but I had to throw it in there. I've been making this list, by the way, for many, many years. And don't ever talk to a CEO until you've done all of your research because, those are the best salespeople in the world. And have exhibits ready in the morning meetings, okay? You might be called upon, right? Have a piece of paper ready with your investment thesis written up. And I showed you that template already, and you can use that. Be patient. Portfolio manager positions are rarely available. I don't want you to be a portfolio manager too early in your career. And everybody's so eager to rise through the ranks. I was that way too. Just chill out. Take your time. If you get promoted too early, you're going to blow up. Okay? Just be patient. Because once you become portfolio manager, you can't go back to analyst. And if you do, it's degrading. When portfolio manager positions are available, they're usually for the following reasons. Number 1, your boss got fired. Don't be a scapegoat. Don't let your boss blame you for their mistakes. Okay? A lot of times you'll get fired before they do because they want to throw someone else under the bus. This is what I love. This is the best scenario possible. If your boss gets promoted to CIO and they love you, they're going to pull you up through the ranks. And that goes for any big firm you work at. If your boss gets promoted and they like you, you get pulled up through the ranks as well. Okay? So align yourself with the right people. Or your boss quits. Don't ever quit with them. Okay? If they quit, there's a position for you. It's open. It's called portfolio manager. And remember, like Highlander said, there can only be one. Don't quit with them. Don't ever go to a startup with them, right? A lot of times they'll say, listen, I'm going to start a company. I'm going to start a hedge fund. I'm going to give you equity in it as well. Don't do it, man. Don't do it. Because if they tell you that they're going to raise 100 million, always divide it by 2. They're going to raise 50 million max, okay? Don't do it. And when they go to start their own hedge fund, they're just used to managing money. They're not used to, managing people, back office, raising money and all that stuff. And their performance usually suffers because of it. Stay put. Okay. So there can only be one. And I hope you take a lot of these tips I gave you so that you are the last one standing, okay? It really is a marathon and not a sprint, okay? So just hang in there. Just think long-term, be long-term greedy, and know there can only be one, and that one is you. Keep your eye on the prize. Eye on the prize at all times. Good things happen to those who wait and are long-term greedy. Don't be in a hurry to grow up or to get promoted, okay? Eye on the prize.